welcome to another video, and I do know what I'm talking about, even though maybe it should be reversed because I did one of these before, last week I think. But that's fine, we're going to kind of swap them. So I have another one that's coming up next week, also kind of book themed because it's November still. But I wanted to do this now just because I feel like it kind of fits in with where I'm at since I just completed the NaNoWriMo goal. Yay! Yeah, I hit 50,000 words if you're not watching the vlogs, which most people aren't, and that's fine. I did that on the 19th, and so I figured this is sort of a nice way to celebrate, commemorate, I don't know, that situation, and take a look at some of what's been written. And I can't look too much into some of the more not interesting, that sounds bad, but some of the stuff that might be a little bit more spicy or even just poorly written, more so than what we're going to look at, because it's tied into a lot of important stuff in the book, and I don't want to give that away. So we're going to look at a couple things. I haven't touched them. One thing, I changed one word because I forgot I was going to do this, but that's it. And then besides just doing it to choose which ones I was going to read to you, I haven't really looked too deep into them, so that's the plan. And I was going to also look at our prologue. I started that way before NaNo. I wouldn't say it's done yet, but it's probably the closest thing to done that I have in this book. And so we're kind of using that as our measuring scale, just to say this is sort of the base of where I want stuff to be, generally. Not perfect, like I said, but generally. And this is where the other stuff's at. And like I said, there's definitely worse stuff. So take this as you will, but I was reading through just a little bit to find these sections, and there were so many things I wanted to change, but I didn't, so I figure here we are. Let's get started. So I'm going to read them to you in a dramatic voice or something, and we're going to just kind of go over them at the end, just a little bit reflection, see what we got. Sound good? Okay. Prologue. A whimpered cry echoes off the cold stone walls, greedily claimed by the steady hiss of rain. He will not scream. The monster would enjoy that too much. Still, he can't hold out much longer. A few dozen blinks, maybe. Another 10 breaths. The broken ribs tunneling into his lungs say otherwise. Long, slender fingers burrow into his jugular like claws. He chokes on sharp iron. You might as well kill me. I'll never give you what you want. He growls through bloody lips. One breath gone. Oh, you poor, foolish soul. His captor grins, teeth bared. Your kind always thinks yourself so important. But you are no more than little soldiers fighting something far beyond your comprehension. Maybe, he coughs against the harsh grip on his neck. Maybe you don't know as much as you think you do. Her laugh grades like bones in a rapid, splintering as they slap against the jagged rocks before succumbing to the current. Perhaps his bones will end up there when this is all over, shining under moonlight's gentle gleam until they finally rest beneath the rippling chaos on the surface. Chaos is a stranger to war, where each movement, each strike, is made with cautious intention. Madness, though, is far too plentiful. His superior has it etched into his flesh beside the gnarled scar on his face, and spews it with every order. Still, there is drive to that madness, a buoyant control despite the frenzied thrashing in the undertow. It is the lunacy of last hope. There is madness here, too, in the monster's ashen, ghoulish face. It is in the hot breath barbing his cheek and the strong squeeze of her hand as the last dredges of air threaten to fall from his lips. The woman is doused in a different sort of insanity, one that bubbles up into something cold and sinister. People like her don't belong in the light, where warmth kisses skin and digs deep into bone, yet that is where she found him. Even the midnight sky is too bright for her. There is no moonlight now. only that wicked glint in the whites of her eyes. I'm growing weary of this game, my dear boy. Tell me what I need to know, or I'll make sure yours is not the only corpse the river devours tonight. Surely your fellow warriors didn't leave you to meet the end alone? There is the voice he knows, powerful and even with a blade-like lilt, an easy wave just moments before the riptide. He is alone, just as he intended. This war is not normal. It couldn't be with an enemy like her. So their tactics had to change too. He is one soldier trying to outwit a devil, but at least no one else will die for his failure. Even she wouldn't dare try to enter the wolves' den. His friends would be safe, if only for now. He sets his jaw and turns to meet her reddening eyes. Never. She tuts, her plump lower lip jutting out to taunt him. If only he could grab it, he'd tear it to shreds. That truly is a shame. You were one of my favorite little pets, darling. The devil's claws dig deeper. No, that's not right. She is no devil. Her gleeful smile as he wheezes his last bloody breaths is of far worse in origin. He lets his eyes shut and gives in to the blackening haze. His torturer acts human, and human is the worst thing to be. So that's the prologue. I hope you like it. I hope you like my dramatic reading of it. It's kind of weird to read my own book like I'm imagining it's on Audible. But you gotta manifest what's in the world, okay? Gotta put it out in the universe and hope that maybe it's happening. So the prologue actually kind of is a preset to the story. So you jump right back into something completely different in the first chapter, and you kind of wait to figure out what the heck that's about, because it's a totally different situation in chapter 1. And then you're like, how did we get from where we are right now to the thing we just read? And that's part of the mystery. So that's the prologue. That's sort of where I'm saying is our standard of where I'm hoping things would be. And so now we can take a look at some of the other stuff that I have. So this one, I believe, let me see which one we got here. Yeah, so this one is next chronologically of the two. It's a little bit more tied to what's going on in chapter 1 than it is to what's going on in the prologue, and then the second one is a little bit more tied to what's going on in the prologue. So that's I'm trying to get a good balance here. So let's just take a look. I'm going to read this one, and we're just going to talk about stuff at the end. Sound good? I mean, I know you can't answer, but I'm gonna hope you said yes. Okay, let's go. Everything smells like salt and copper, but he pays it no mind. He doesn't think about where he's going, but in a blink he's crashing down onto the grass by White Falls. He crawls out from under his bicycle and down onto the side of the water, tears dripping into the river, and it makes him angry. It's like Asai said, a few tears are nothing in a river this big. His pain means nothing. The scream that rips from his throat is blank and blank. It echoes off the mountain behind him. His own amplified pain slams against him and his body gives out. The tears cascade in tandem with the waterfall behind him, loud and endless. He only stops when his body is too limp and tired to do anything but lay and accept the cold spray of water on his face. Are you here, Dad? He whispers, his voice raw and choppy. Nanaminami said that all Ichigan ancestors are at White Falls, so you have to be here. You have to. He whines into his chest. Why did you go? How could you leave us? You were supposed to come home and help me find cats for the bakery. You were supposed to be okay. The sobs come back anew. You were supposed to be okay. I thought I might find you here. If he had any energy left, he would jump at Mrs. Ito's sudden arrival. He groans, not moving from his ball by the river. Your mother is worried about you. Guilt settles heavy around his chest. If he leaned back, it would carry him to the bottom of the water. Didn't mean to. I know, kid. Thought you couldn't come down here anymore, he whispers. For the right reasons, I can will these old bones to make the trip. Sorry. Nonsense. You didn't force me down that hill. You might have to force me back up it, though. She settles beside him with a grunt, laying her wrinkled hand atop his hair. There's a bushel of flowers at her side. He grabs them, pulling them tight to his chest. Do they really ever help you get what you wish for? He asks of the river. Sometimes, I think. Depends on the wish. Some are too hard even for the ancestors. Do they ever give you what you wish for? My wish has been the same for almost 20 years. There's only one way to grant it as far as I know. What is it? The rushing of the falls surround them for a long moment. Mrs. Ito sighs. I got married right out of high school. We were both born and raised in this town, and our families were here for generations. She and I knew each other from diapers onward, and we never parted. She was everything, my Gloriosa. We were the first lesbians married in this old-fashioned town, and proud of it. We traveled the world together and came back home when she started getting sick. It was a quick illness, which made it better than watching her waste away, I guess. I know the gods were kind, but I selfishly wanted more time. She died in her sleep. I woke up in the morning, and she didn't. I came down here just like you back then. I screamed at the falls, cried my eyes out, and vowed never to leave again. I convinced myself her death was our curse for leaving Ithaca, so I wouldn't ever leave my home. There was no point in it anyway. It changed. I saw a little boy outside my window, admiring the flowers. Oh, he said quietly. You started coming around more to learn about the flowers, and I could hear her telling me it was time to try to start living again. So I set up my stand. So you wished for us to be reunited by any means necessary. So that section's a little different. It keeps going on. There's more to it. I really haven't touched that one even a little bit. There's like so many things I'm reading and I'm like, this is gotta be fixed. But that's the point, is to read it and to be like, it's just sort of like stream of consciousness is what happens when it's like sprinting. And as you can tell with my blank and blank, it's like I kind of write for flow in terms of like beat. So I have a background in poetry and in music, and I feel like when I'm writing, it's more in like a tempo almost, like I can feel how it should be paced as I'm writing. So even though I don't have the words just yet, I know how I want it to sound. Not just the words themselves, but the syllables or like how long the sentences are. I just sort of feel it, and so that's sort of how I try to pace things out. And I don't know, I think it usually works pretty well. But this is one of the characters, Mrs. Ito, who if you watch my vlogs at all, had not planned on her being a very big part of the book. I mentioned her in sort of a like, not even world building, but just giving him context in his own world before we get to the big stuff that happens later. Just, like talking about Mrs. Ito and her flower stand. And then suddenly I was like doing all this and I was like, he's going to be really upset about the thing that happens and I need somebody to reach out to him, but it has to be something different. And she just sort of came to life in this section. And so because of this, I started giving her more backstory, a little bit more importance to him in the story itself. And I don't know, I really like her character. It's not perfectly displayed here, but she's really she's one of those kind of like old, sassy type of people, kind of like the mentors you would see in like anime or whatever, like just sort of that like old, wise person who knows things, but is also just kind of done. Like, that's who she is. Her dialogue isn't exactly where I would want it to be, but you get the point. So that's sort of where that one is. And then I was going to do one more. Let's take a look at In the Dark. And this is, like I said, tied more to the part of the story that relates to the prologue. So we're a little bit later. And I wrote this one recently. I don't really remember how it goes, but I remember that it didn't give too much away, which is why we're here. So let's just read it and we'll see together what it's about, because I don't remember. Okay. The darkness is different in the outskirts. In Ithaca, the stars shone through on clear nights with no light pollution between their part of the island and the closest real city. The sky is dark, inky like black rose petals, and just as artificially dyed. It is as beautiful as it is scary. On Earth, the sky is dwarfing. There's an insignificance he feels looking out into the mass of dead rocks, so far away that their light still shines down on him. What is one boy in the face of all that? The outskirts is the opposite. There's nothing. No stars, no planets, not even a fake moon. Yet this place is more proof than anything that there's more out there, just in the life after death sort of way. Where are the rest of the souls? The other animals that aren't pets, the ancestors? Where is his father resting now? Hopefully it's somewhere better than here. After everything he did in life, he deserves some peace. It's funny. After his father died, he spent so much time at the falls, praying his dad could hear him. Now he hopes there's no way for him to see what's been going on. Mrs. Ito's words play back in his mind. I imagine a ghost's guilt is more potent than any living soul's because they can't begin to act on it. Papa can't reach him now, and Hitoshi can't reach him either. Mama's all alone. It's not so much guilt as regret. Did he tell her he loved her before bed that night? Did he show it? He looks out at the bleak darkness. Who are we without the ones we love? What do we become? Why is it worse when you are the one who left them behind? Is Kia right? Are all of them right? It's hard to envision the cruelty they speak about when his home was warm cookies on early mornings and flowers by the waterfall. But he can't ignore the darker truths. Can the hardened parts of humanity change? The Asais and Otakas of the world. Can they find goodness again? Or will the human race always be one meant to beat each other to the finish line? If people can be so horrible to animals, what hope is there for their treatment of other people? There is no easy answer, so how can he be sure he's making the right decision? So that one's like really rough, but it's nice. It oddly ties into the section we just read, which honestly was not planned. I didn't remember. I'll have to show you in my notes somewhere. I had a thing that was like, read Into Darkness, or In the Dark, whatever it's called, because it was like so rough, I guess, and didn't give anything away. But it is fun, but it ties back into what we were just talking about. I think in this situation, I feel like the points are there. Like the ideas are where I want them to be, like it gets the point across, but it's just not written the way that I would want it. Like there are some things that I kind of like. I like the idea of like the sky is dark, inky like black rose petals, and just as artificially dyed. Because the world he's in is hard to explain right now, but it's it's real, but it's not real. That's what I'll say. And so I feel like it's interesting. Like I would be interested, but it just needs a lot of fine tuning, a lot of not fine tuning, bigger tuning. It needs a lot of tuning. And so that's kind of where I am in the writing that I do during NaNo. The sprints, that's like kind of what comes out of it. Sometimes it's worse, but sometimes it's better. This is sort of an average, I'd say. And so I'm hoping to get all of this sort of to the standard that I had up in the top there in the prologue. But we'll see how it all comes together at the end. I don't know. I think that it was better than what I expected when I first started writing for NaNo. I think I thought it was going to be way worse. So I'm honestly not that upset about it. I feel like, like I said, there's stuff that's going to need more work, but it could have been so much worse. Considering I'm just like not thinking when I'm writing for sprints, I just sort of let it go and see what happens. It could be so much worse. But yeah, I'm not upset about it. So it's gonna be interesting, and when we finally come to the point where we get to edit the whole thing, I don't know. I think it'll turn out nice. I think it's a good foundation for stuff to be built on. And I guess I wanted this whole video also to just be evidence of, things aren't as bad as you think it is, and even when it is, maybe it's good to just really edit one chapter, so that when you go back and look at it, you're like, okay, I know there's a standard of work that I can achieve, and I know that I can do that. So even though this stuff isn't as good as where I'd like it to be, there's proof that I am a good writer. And that's like weird for me to say, even though I feel like I know it, like it just feels very vain to say. But I've had people who've beta read things for me and they say it and I'm like, well, thank you so much, that's really nice. And so I want to believe it in myself. And I, read the beginning thing and I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. But at the same time, it's like knowing you wrote it, it's like automatically makes you think it's worse than it might be to other people, hopefully. So I'm trying to push past my insecurities and say, it was good. So that's where I'm at. And I just sort of wanted to share that with you guys and, let you know how this journey's been, because the couple people who have been following me on my vlogs know the adventure that's been going on this month. So this is the fruits of said labor. I don't know, I could have been worse. Summary point. But that's about all I have for today. Just sort of wanted to look at stuff. So we did that. Thank you guys so much if you're still with me. I'm not always doing writing videos. Next week's is also writing related, but it's more fun. And so beyond that, we do other things, other kinds of content. I've got a video, the last one was about fan fiction and the reality of fan fiction. I've got one about the truth of Catholic Church, which is, is kind of depressing. But I do not depressing stuff too. Fun videos and, just kind of different things. So if any of that sounds interesting, perhaps subscribe, because that would be nice. Social and stuff is down in the thing description. That's a word. And I hope you guys have a really nice day, or, night, or whatever time you are watching this video. And I will see you in the next one. But for now, sweet dreams.